you all here. Today's session, Play Smarter, Grow Faster, Rethinking Mobile Game Growth Strategies. I'm Ece Bahtiyar, founder of Appleads Agency, and I will be moderating today's panel. To give some words about myself, I'm an ASO and Apple Search Ads expert that helps the apps and games to leverage their growth. We all know that today's gaming world, growth isn't just pouring into big, juicy money into ads and hoping for a viral hit. It's all about being smarter, building right funnels, building a good relationship with your users, your players, and using data to make every decision count. That's exactly what we'll be unpacking today with these three amazing guests who each bring a different lens to the topic. From user acquisition to creative strategy to monetization and player retention. Now I will let each of them to introduce themselves in a moment. Just to give you a quick intro, let's start with a quick round of introductions with Vendra. Would you like to kick us off, Vendra?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Eche, and pleased to be here. So I'm Virendra. People call me Viren as short. So I'm Senior Growth Manager at AppAgent. I have my own portfolio that I'm handling, which mostly contains gaming clients. My core expertise lies into UA and then creators. And then within UA as well, I'm more inclined towards a lot of data crunching and then making sure that the projects and the games that I'm handling becomes profitable. So this is who I am, and I've been in the industry for the last 10 years. So super excited to be here and then learn from each of the panelists that we have here now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brenda. And next up, Çağatay, over to you.
Hello everyone. This is Çağatay from SocialPeta. I'm the key account manager, and I'm residing in Ankara in Turkey. I will be try to share our insights from the 2025 with our data reports and the actual current trends, etc. with you. Feel free to ask me questions about the specific genres, etc. after the session. And thank you.
By the way, if you have any questions during the session, feel free to drop them in the chat or Q&A box. We will collect them and bring them up during the Q&A part over the end. And finally, Jakub, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, please.
Hi there. Name's Jakub. Been in the industry for more than 10 years now. Work at multiple companies all the time, basically as game designer, and like that's pretty much what my job is, like product game design consultant nowadays. As I went independent, and yeah, working with studios all over the place, and running the 2.5 Gamers mobile game industry podcast with Felix and Maciej 3 times a week now.
Amazing. So let's dive into our discussion. To start things off, here's the question for everyone. My question would be, today's discussion is all about playing smarter, moving beyond this traditional growth tactics to build smarter funnels, data-driven decisions, and deeper player connections. How would you define smart growth for mobile games in 2025? Anyone can start.
Okay, I can start if that's okay.
Sure.
So, since I prepared a bit, so please bear with me. So for me, I think it's a great question, first of all, to start with, because that is the need of the hour. And it particularly resonates me well because these are some of the projects that I'm currently handling. And often we do like internal brainstorming, trying to see what would entail as a smart growth, not just in 2025, but beyond that as well. So all the recent projects that we are working with, I think have somehow been dependent on trying to identify what the smart growth is. And we think that smart growth would mean some sort of marketability test. So even before a gaming client or any client starts spending, even before the soft launch, I think what they need to do is a bit of research and they try to find a CPI advantage. In order to do that, of course, they can do the market research, then do some paid UA marketability test in order to validate, we would say two things. The first one being which themes or hooks or creators actually move IPM and CPI, because in return, those CPIs would be contributing to the overall LTV. And then second, with the story or character pairs best with the genre and the target audience. So along with marketability, I believe that smart growth also revolves around a unified loop of UA, ASO, creators, live ops working all together as one model. Of course, now with more of the automation coming into the creators, along with some of the data, it remains to be a key driver. Not anymore. I believe that we do add random static banners or random videos into our campaigns, hoping that we will find new creative winners, which will drive our performances and then later on spend as well. I think it's very important as a team to find the concepts, identify the customer profiles based on either the research that we do, and then there are a lot of AI tools as well nowadays which assist us in order to come up with competitive research, but also coming up with creative concepts that can actually move the needle.
Yeah.
I myself am a hands-on UA manager, which would mean that all the AI advancements that Meta keeps on coming with, which I'm sure you all must have seen more recently, where they have come up with related media, they have come up with image generation, creative optimization. Those are some of the advancements I'm using day in and day out. And the good thing is Meta already has like those detailed breakdowns as well, which allows us to see if those AI iterations or AI advancements that we have been testing are actually working well or not. So now, not a lot of this, what we are discussing today and what we will be discussing down in the webinar was possible before AI was in there. So what as teams, what we need to do is, I think we need to adapt and be smart with AI. Operationally, internally, our creative team has been doing a lot of creative audits recently where they develop 2, 3 sharp customer profiles and then align those creators with custom product pages, and then UA teams from our side do these running sprints of testing those creators, identify learnings from those creators, and then scale those campaigns together. Now, a lot of this has become a lot easier because, and which we will briefly touch upon in some time today, but with the AI advancements where AI is helping us to do a lot of research, a lot of ideation, a lot of data crunching, which was pretty manual earlier, but now has been become a lot easier. And then on top of it, what we have touched upon is research and creators, but then what a smart growth also means is on the reporting level. So now reporting is very critical because of iOS. The data that we report to is not clear on iOS as it used to be. So to measure a full funnel impact of the spend that we do on each of these channels, trying to identify incrementality or the payback windows, not just dependent only on CPIs. I think it's very critical for a smart growth. So smart growth in nutshell, if I have to do a quick summary of this, I would say that it has allowed us to make fewer guesses. We can validate it much faster nowadays, and then having a creative velocity which is aimed to pay us back in return. I think this is all what entails as a smart growth.
Yeah. Great summary. Thank you so much. And of course, like AI is the one of the is undeniable element of 2025 smart growth strategies. And it's all about like one of the things that you underline was the creative velocity, and AI make it like super easier and faster. But while we are talking about this faster growth, we should be also careful about like how we can sustain this fast growth. Anyone else?
Yep. I guess I can follow that directly with what Virendra said, because what we see, and like we see it a lot basically in the games that we review, and let's say the success stories that come on the pod, is that UA is basically moving towards the success ratio, which is now something like 60 to 70% driven by UA from product. So unfortunately, product itself, even though it can be as great as possible, it's still not enough if UA is not really the key driver for growth these days. And we see it especially with the rising Chinese companies, which are doing some amazing work. And even when we were at Shanghai in China during July, you can and feel it there in China that UA is the most important job of these all three kind of design verticals of a mobile game structure, where you have like product, user acquisition, and tech. And UA is the most important there. And it's pretty much seen there because it went to pretty much that big lengths that we have stuff like Kingshot, for instance. Let's take Kingshot, the biggest mobile game of this year, basically, from Century Games. What they basically did is that they found the game on Steam, which is called Thronefall, and they literally kind of copied the Thronefall onboarding into the game, because the creative itself, the guy with shooting these small, minions and stuff like that you see all over the place, I guess even in your refrigerator now, it just drives down the CPI and enables them to grow on this super high volume of like 200, 300K installs per day, basically. So, and it's kind of at the same game as Whiteout Survival, because all these companies work in templates. So most of the time they're very genre focused. They always kind of go and just push their genre forward. They don't really go outside of their genre that much, and they just go and go and go. Century Games is so big that they're also already trying to push this into different genres. So if you check Tasty Travels, they're already top 5 on the merge genre, which is also dominated by Microfun, another giant Chinese company, which is doing exactly the same thing with their creative strategy. So yeah, UA is the king now, and it seems product is barely catching up these days. It still needs to be perfect, don't get me wrong, but if your UA isn't top notch, you just, you see what, for instance, Supercell is currently doing. Like they killed their 9 games in soft launch in a row, basically, and they're kind of struggling currently to create a new hit game because the market is just so fierce because of the aggressive UA tactics that's coming mainly from the East.
Yeah. And they are like UA is the biggest part ratio that among all the effort, and they are using it wisely with already proven games and investing heavily on it, like with the
They have also giant manpower. Like, don't get me wrong. Like Whiteout Survival, that's like I think just 200 people, just the creative team. So,
wow.
so you don't mess with these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Çağatay, do you have any ideas about?
I can add some data insights on it to I agree with both Veria and Jakub. So the smart growth today means being efficient, insight-driven, and the player-centric. So right now, it's not about spending more. It's about spending more smarter ways. So you need to understand who's your best players are, and where they come from, and how to keep them engaged for a long term. So if you look at our latest report about the 2025, we see the landscape shifting fast. So the number of mobile game advertisers grew around 17% year over year, and while the number of the new creatives surged, averaging more than 57% of the new ad content every month. So this shows two things. The competition is very intense, and the creative fatigue happens faster than ever. So in this environment, I think the smart growth means mastering 3 things. Like the first, the smarter funnels. Instead of focusing on just on the installs, leading studios are looking at the whole journey at the moment. So they use playable ads and trial gameplay creatives to attract players with the real intent, not just the curiosity click. These formats doesn't just improve the CTRs, they improve the retention because players already know that what they are getting into before downloading. The second meaning of the smart growth going to be like you need to make more smarter decisions through data. So with the AI and automations are playing huge role in here. So the top performing marketers aren't relying on initiation alone. They are using AI-driven creative analysis, predictive LTV models, and A/B testing to make more data-backed choices about where and how to scale. And in here, we also provide the help on our dashboard to show which most ad creatives are most performing in specific channels and regions. And the AI-driven testing is very important on that side. And the third is the deeper player connections. Is like player today wants more than just entertainment. They want the personalized experience and community. So the smart growth means optimizing not just for the acquisition, but for the retention as well. So designing monetization, engagement loops that respect the player experience. So, for example, we are seeing a huge rise in in-game ads. The report forecasts the market reaching nearly 125 billion this year. So, but so the winning studios are doing it in non-intrusive but the player-friendly ways. So it's not about the chasing the new trend right now. It's about the combining insight, the creativity, and the player empathy to build long-term success. I think this is the what's playing smart really means to me for this year.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for everything and thanks for the data. I would like to say a couple of things about the retention, the things that I saw in the market. So at PAS, we had this like customer success teams that is generally overlooking, or UA teams looking the retention ratios. And nowadays I am seeing like specific positions like VIP hosts that builds one-on-one relationship with players itself, especially well-spender players. And it also showed that like retention will take more and more importance in upcoming year, as I believe. Thanks everyone for sharing your thoughts on smart growth. And now let's move on our first specific question. Vendra, it will be for you. With your deep experience in performance marketing and cross-platform user acquisition, you have seen firsthand how AI and creative iterations are transforming mobile game growth, especially 2025. From your perspective, how marketers can leverage AI-driven creatives and data insights to scale efficiently, not just like viral, but I'm talking about more efficient scale with like more sustainable scale, while still keeping campaigns profitable in today's really competitive environment?
I think it's a great question, and I think so. I'm a big fan of AI, and which is why I've been testing like a lot of AI tools that is responsible for a lot of creative production, but also like creative analysis and creative research. I really understand and appreciate what AI brings to the table, But in my opinion, the real challenge is actually balancing like a lots of creators scale with profitability. To me, the answer to this is not to use AI to come up with hundreds of creatives, as we have been seeing recently. It's actually treating AI as an engine in, let's say, three core specific areas for me. And this is what we have been doing, not chasing after developing hundreds of creatives and then testing them into our campaigns, but keeping it focused on, let's say, 3 areas. The 3 areas being, let's start first with creative research, then we progress to creative iteration, and then on top of that, of course, the data analysis section, which helps us to come up with detailed insights on those creatives. So if we have to dig in a bit deeper into each of these, let's start first with creative research. Now, AI gives us a lot more visibility that we never had before. We all have been using tools like Motion or Upspring, and even the tools that we have created in-house at AppAgent, which allows us to see themes that competitors are running with, creatives that they have been running for a very long time, creators that are fatiguing, or creators which actually have very different angles that are resonating well with the audiences. Now, each of these platforms that I've just mentioned allows us to see the angles that are working, that are losing, hooks that we even have tested yet. Those AI inbuilt onto the top of these platforms allows us to do now what we didn't have the time before. It means that when we have these creative brainstorming sessions, we always go into a meeting with already the ready built insights. So there are insights that we are going to discuss upon, and that's how we are going to progress in the meetings. It's not anymore that we have to start from the scratch, looking at the competitors, trying to find which creative would resonate well with us. So creative research is definitely being simplified with a lot of AI tools that have come in the market more recently. Then second, as I was sharing, it's not about creative production, but creative iteration. Earlier, we used to test, let's say, 5 or 10 different creatives in a week, and then sometimes in a month as well, based on the quality of creatives that we were putting into the campaigns. But now what AI has enabled us is to create a feedback loop. So let's say we find a winning motivation for one of the gaming app that we are running our creators. And let's say the motivation is competition for a top performing ad. Now, what we do is we come up with 3 or 5 variants of the same concept, maybe with a different skin, a different voiceover, different actor, alternate hook, in order to come up with multiple concepts on the winning motivation. So it's not just about volume, it's actually diversifying, build on the data that we have identified. So, and this is exactly what AI brings. So it identifies what's resonating well, it builds on top of that, and then it allows us to deploy those creators, not within weeks or months, but let's say within hours as well nowadays. And then third, which is my most favorite part, is data analysis. Because being a UA manager, it's one area where I have the capability or the leverage of testing hundreds of creatives or tens of creators with different varied angles. But then what I'm most interested in is understanding which creative is resonating well and is contributing overall to the revenue. So I think just yesterday or day before yesterday, I was speaking to a founder who told me that, hey, I've uploaded hundreds of variants. They have this very good team of partnering with different influencers. They had hundreds of creative concepts, different iterations, different hooks, but somehow for them, Meta was not working. So the issue isn't quantity, right? So it's all about signal nowadays, more so after the recent Andromeda update that has recently come up on the Meta side. So platforms like, be it Meta's Advantage Plus or very recently AppLovin Exxon, what they need is they do not need like a clutter of creators, hundreds of creators that they can test on. What they need is like a clearer creators with more defined player motivations or user motivations that our creators can cater to, and that's how they can reach out to different audiences segment in order to give better performance to us. So as a UA manager, what I believe is our job is not to find the audience. It's actually to feed the algorithm the right creative inputs so they can find the audience for us. And I believe when the entire loop is aligned, that's when, and Jakob also touched upon this, that a lot of companies are now chasing lower CPIs because they understand that lower CPIs is a key to success when they have to build their LTV models. So when the entire loop is aligned from creative ideation to production to testing and then to reporting, I think that's when CPIs drop. And then also it does not drop like within a day or two. We need to be consistent with all of these efforts week over week. And when the CPI drop, that's when the profitability follows. So all of the different platforms, I think, along with some of the ones that we create in-house, do allow us uh, to have all of these inputs, be it respect to the fatigues in the creators, or set up, let's say, automated rules on the meta side, which is in a way is also some kind of automation. And then uh, very recently, what I found most interesting is this creative tagging on top of what we do manually. So creative tagging help with the help of these AI tools, it has also been like a lot beneficial in order to give a lot more clarity to find winning angles that we can build upon as we scale our spending. So I think AI overall is helping us to move faster and then in return react quicker as well. And I think the bottom line would remain the same as it always is, that scale won't come from, let's say, flooding the algorithm with hundreds or thousands of creators, but it will come from feeding the right signals consistently to these algorithms.
Yeah. Signal engineering, definitely one of the hit titles was of 2025, and apparently it will be for 2026 with the AI growth. Like lots of resources, there are lots of creatives, but how to signal velocity sometimes is not enough. And yeah, thank you for all the answer, Andra. So now moving over to Çağatay. Çağatay, you have a great view of the global mobile game landscape through SocialPeta's data and market intelligence. Given that one of the favorite questions is coming, what kind of trends or patterns you are seeing in ad performance and creative strategies that helping studios not just acquiring players more efficiently, but also retain them longer in this highly competitive market. Not just like trends that the viral hits just acquire them, but retain them longer. What kind of patterns you saw in 2025?
So I'll try to explain the funnels and patterns on that site. First of all, thank you very much for the great question. From our perspective, we track billions of ad impressions and hundreds of the thousands of the creatives, hundred thousands of the creatives assets every month across various networks and regions. So what's very clear about the 2025 is that the gap between creative excellence and the creative noise has never been wider that much. So in our reports, we have seen that the volume of ads is exploding, but it doesn't mean that the quality is keeping up with the volume. So to acquire and retain players efficiently, studios need to think strategically and not just produce more. So one of the biggest trends we are seeing is the rise of the playables and interactive ad formats. So playables are no longer just a creative experiment. They became a strategic filter. So players who interact with the playables before downloading tend to have like a higher day one and day seven retention. Because they already understand the gameplay and are genuinely interested. So instead of casting a wide net, playables help studios to pre-qualify users and reduce the wasted spend. The second trend is AI-powered creative iteration. So the most and the best performing teams are using AI tools not to replace the creativity, but to accelerate it. Generating variations, analyzing the engagement signals, and identifying what visuals or narrative elements actually drive installs or retention. So the key insight is here, AI only works if you have a strong feedback loop. Without a tagging and structured testing, AI just creates more clutter. So another interesting shift is emotionally resonant storytelling. The data shows that the creatives with more clear emotional arcs, such as failure to success, choice and consequences, and the social competition, are outperforming generic gameplay showcases. So these emotional micro stories work incredibly well on short form video platforms like TikTok or Instagram, where attention spans are measured in seconds. So the creative retention link, which I think is the most overlooked. So studios that are using top performing ad concepts to inspire in-game events, tutorials, or even UI designs are seeing stronger early retention, and it creates a sense of continuity. But the players download a game and that delivers on the exact promise of that. So if I had to sum it up, 2025 is about the relevance, iteration, and alignment. Relevance, tailor your story to the right audience and right platform. Iteration, use AI and test more faster on the market. And alignment, to make your ad promise matches match the in-game experiences. So the studios that can align all these three things can be the one who is doing the more efficient growth and retain the meaningful players on their products.
Great answer. Thank you. Yeah, I see myself as also interactive and playable ads had been taking over the market in 2025, and apparently it will be happening in 2026. Just before the webinar, I was doing a quick research and I saw the most of the impression in the US market in the gaming goes to Townships, Townships, one of the creatives that is interactive. And I started to play it, and it ended up like I spent 2 minutes on that playable ads, and I downloaded Township and just look for the episode that I played, and I actually couldn't find it, but I didn't delete the app. So, and secondly, the video ads, of course, still in the scene with the emotional triggers and the failures. And Dream Games, I think this is like they are really succeeding at this failure creatives, which means like the king is going to die and you need to just do the Tetris according to yellow or like the three match with the yellow blocks, but the hand you see is going to the red one and king is dead and you're just like why, etc. So yeah, and definitely videos are taking over. Like videos are still there, but playables are taking over, and I'm excited to see what kind of trends that we will see on upcoming years. And thanks, Çağatay, once again. Now, Jakub, turning to you. You have worked deeply across the mobile game ecosystem. We all know that, from game design to economy balancing and data-driven monetization and live operations. Given your experience, especially with hyper casual and hybrid casual titles, how do you see monetization and retention strategies evolving studios from short-term hits to more long-term player engagement?
Yeah. So hybrid casual is moving away from hybrid casual. That's basically the point of it.
Amazing. Thanks for that.
It's basically moving either towards more casual or more mid-core. We literally had guys from Hobby on the podcast, the guys behind Archero, Survivor.io, Capybara Go, and so on. And they literally told us that like we never consider ourselves to be hybrid casual. They don't even like the word. They always consider themselves to be mid-core, and you can see that in their like recent games. Basically, like Whittle Defender is like very mid-core. It's a squad-based RPG. They even expanded their whole kind of progression, which they always like one character and 6 inventory items. Now they have 5 characters just to begin with. Even if we look at their like very recent, like the soft launch games that they're running on WeChat platform that you don't really see in the West, it's all going more and more mid-core. And it's also one of the most kind of requested demand with studios that I work with. As for my like, yeah, I can say hybrid casual clients or people from that pretty much segment, move the needle more towards IP or revenue profile. Like that's pretty much the ask. Like help us to switch the revenue profile to be more IP driven than ad driven. And I guess currently people are looking to move really to something like we were doing back then in like 2018-19, which is 70% IP, 30% ads, which is kind of mid-core to begin with. Because back then everybody was going for like, yeah, we want to be something like Alien Invasion, which is like 50-50, and like this kind of mythical balance of having so much ads and so much IPs. But nowadays, yeah, nobody wants that because the eCPMs are going down. The ad revenue isn't where it was like a few years ago. So the whole market is moving as some kind of a transition, basically. So hybrid casual itself is kind of evolving towards, as I said, either casual or mid-core. So yeah, this kind of mythical land of 50-50%, like ad revenue versus IPs in the revenue profile is, again, just the stop on the way to push even more towards IP. So that's there. And for that, you need different skill set. That's the biggest problem that these studios are facing because, for instance, if it like let's look at Vietnam, for instance, is one of the biggest growth hubs in the current market, and studios are desperately there moving towards more IP driven games. You see, for instance, the success of Ikame with Screw Them 3D, which again is like very IP driven game compared to all the other games that are coming from Vietnam, which are mainly ad driven. So yeah, everybody is moving there, and as I said, the biggest problem is that they are hitting this wall of being forced to pretty much do very long-term economies, very long-term progressions, system design on a scale that gives players long-term retentions, stuff to kind of accumulate and progress, which is not something that the hyper-casual, hybrid casual studio was doing before, because back then, again, everything worked so much short-term. So yeah, it's pretty much this kind of overall growing trend dynamic. And my guess is that by next year, like this whole hybrid casual thing that everybody is talking about and like taking it as some kind of holy grail, it will be basically mid-core and casual. And those who knows will just say it. Like hybrid casual is unfortunately dying as we speak, as the model itself.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, Jakub. And yeah, like I think definition of these terms will be changing soon, and we will have a whole new classification, especially in the game genre, and it's coming. And actually, the NICE is already start, so we will be there. Thank you all. Those were really great closing thoughts to like not closing thoughts, the answers to your individual questions. And I think you all touched really importance of the adaptability, smarter use of AI, and long-term thinking and thinking out of the box. This is like the crucial one. Now let's open it to quick Q&A session. We have few questions from the chat box and Q&A box. So I will start the first one. The first one came from Rahil, asking that how about optimizing the paywall or subscription screen based on preferences of two major generations, Gen X and Gen Z, especially when your app is targeting both generation users. Who would like to take this beautiful question? How do you optimize your paywall or subscription screen with both targeting Gen X and Gen Z?
Yeah, I don't think I'm in the right capacity to answer this one.
Okay.
I would say that it's not that big of a difference because Gen Z and Gen X, like Gen X is what, like I am Gen X, if I understand correctly. There's not that big of a difference. Maybe the bigger difference would be if we take like a baby boomer generation against Gen Z, like that like I guess would be a meaningful difference. But I don't see that there's like a special setup that's like generation wise only here. With Gen Z
Yeah.
and boomers, I can definitely see the thing, but it's much more radical time change than these two, I would say.
Like Gen X birth years, I just Googled it. It's 1965 to 1980s. So
Yeah,
45
that's me.
6 years. You look young, a lot young.
Yeah. So I don't think so. There's that big of a difference. Like just use industry best practices to kind of go for it. I wouldn't really go for like anything specific. I think it's a little bit of an overthinking. If you go for baby boomers, which is like the really, for instance, hardcore female audience of match 3 games or stuff like that, yeah, then that's a different setup maybe that
Yeah.
could provide value.
And especially in game, there's just not one paywall or subscription screen. So maybe Gen X will go to more into token or coin purchase, and maybe Gen Z is more about like getting more premium features, etc. So
the rule of thumb is that the newer generation you go, the less attention span you can expect.
yes.
Basically, that's it.
Exactly. So let's move to the second question. With so many studios shifting towards sustainable growth, how should smaller teams balance between live ops, complexity, and resource limitations? Any practical frameworks or examples you would recommend?
I can also take this one. You need to work in templates. That's the most kind of mandatory rule basically in the current market. So whatever you do, even if you're a smaller team or bigger team or whatever, stuff needs to be coded or created in modular fashion. Therefore, you will be reusing it all the time. So if you're doing a live event or if you're doing whatever kind of a feature for a game, make sure that you build it in a way that then you can recycle it, just do very small modifications and use it as a second feature. Or if your whole game fails, basically, make sure that you can salvage most of the work that you have done for the previous game so the next game can be created much more faster. Like this is basically the Asian formula that all the teams are doing there. Like if you see, for instance, what Hobby is doing with all the Archeros until like even now, Up Capybara, Go Whittle Defender, all their metagame features are recycled. Like it's the same exact UI, same exact setup, same everything. So make sure
Yes,
that you're not creating something from scratch all the time. Otherwise, it will make you like slow.
definitely. And you shouldn't like think big all the time. Just think smart with this framework, the core feature and the core of the game, and just like replace it if you fail. Yeah, great answer, Jakub. And the third one, from a data standpoint, what's one insight about player acquisition or retention that surprised you recently? Something studios might be overlooking when planning campaigns. Interesting question.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
not sure, like with respect to the data itself, but then, of course, this is not as surprising as it used to be. Now, we do plan our campaigns, not just evaluating like ROAS numbers or CPI numbers, but we do consider retention numbers as well while efficiently allocating the budgets. But then one thing that I think we generally ignore while, let's say, coming up with a media mix or what type of campaigns we want to launch is we do not factor in the whitelisted ads or partnership ads or Spark ads that we run on TikTok because those do come with a very different CPMs and CPIs. So while developing the overall strategy, I think these are some of the things we need to consider because those customers comes with lower CPMs, lower CPIs, higher retention, and comes with a higher LTV as well. So while factoring in your media mix, I think it's very critical that we factor that too.
Yeah. And I would like to add something like everybody is so drawn into this UA campaign, optimizing, and there's already a super big budgets, etc. But just don't forget you are missing like the one fundamental thing to start with, which is ASO. Today I see there are still lagging from ASO and expecting huge from UA. If you don't have like basic, good fundamental ASO, just all the effort will go to nothing. I see gaming as like using lots of still vertical screenshots, which is like clearly the trend is horizontal screenshots in using of ASO. And especially in app events, you should use at least 3 in-app events at the same time. And with this one, like in-app events title should have your, how can I say, unique selling point or your core keyword that you are looking after in your UA activities, etc. There are lots of tricks, and I think ASO still the hit. Yeah, it's like old-fashioned way, but just don't forget to look to the basic. And let's check the chat bar. So, being an agency or external consultants, how do you tackle data accuracy with your clients? Is it something you advise on or look at, or is it something you trust blindly? Interesting question. So as an agency, an external consultant, of course, you should trust the data that you provided. But the main thing is like if you have an access to the actual App Store analytics or the MMP itself, yeah, I trust in manner of that. I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly, but any addings? Yeah.
Yeah, I can add that. Yeah, during the time when I worked at the publisher, we were talking and pretty much auditing multiple companies, and I say the rule of thumb again is something like the data stacks there were having like 15 to 20% discrepancies always.
Well,
If like the company isn't something like, you know, public based company with like thousands of data analysts or something like that. So it's normal for these things to have a problem. You should kind of, you know, trusting the data is one thing, but also trusting your gut is very important if the data is something that you want to look for, because there are a lot of things that you can get from the data itself as for like, okay, this doesn't make sense, which creates the problem and the alert of like, okay, maybe we should maybe recheck the data and like check for discrepancies. Because one thing is to have, as I said, 15 to 20% discrepancies, which still can, you know, you can still go with it. It's not that big of a problem, especially low scale. But high scale, like games that are very, very scaled up, is a giant problem, having 15 to 20% data discrepancy. So I would always have this kind of a attitude of called, like guys told me, like militant pessimism, like, yeah, always expect that there will be 15 to 20% discrepancies, if not bigger. So that's the rule of thumb for me.
I agree with what you shared. So we always see roughly around 15 to 20% discrepancy that then our goal is to reduce it. There are a couple of things that we do when we do these detailed audits for our clients. The first one being, let's say, if our MMP is passing, let's say, gross revenue, we want to make sure that we pass net revenue so that the overall calculations that we have are much closer to the numbers to what we see, let's say, on App Store Connect. Then similarly on App Store Connect as well as Revenue Card, we want to make sure that we are looking at proceeds numbers or new proceeds numbers rather than overall sales. And then even there, we want to look at cohort data rather than the overall volume of revenue. So data is very critical to start with, and we always have this goal to reduce the discrepancy that we see across different platforms. But as always, I think money is what defines our performance. Whatever money we are getting in and whatever we are spending on paid UA, so the money coming in should always be higher than money going out. I think that remains the core philosophy of our paid UA efforts. And whatever we can do to make sure that the numbers are as close as possible between different channels or platforms, I think what is always helpful when we think about spending in millions,
By the way, just to finish the question, because I see another one, like, yeah, there are always data problems. How do you tackle that? You have very good data engineers, period. Like, that's basically it. I'm sorry. I can fix that. I will literally call my friend, freelance data analyst, that will fix that.
That's true.
Okay, next question. Willem asked this question. Small indie studio here. Budget for user acquisition is very small, so I'm planning to use web games to attract players and then push them towards mobile, hoping to grow organically from there. Do you think it's possible to break into mobile without a big budget, not aiming to compete with the big guys, just trying to get a foothold? Between Jakob, by the way, Jakob, sorry, I love the podcast. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I can take also this one. We literally had few stories on the podcast that were like 2-man, 3-man teams that are making it. It's still possible. It takes a lot of time, lots of efforts. Even UA wise, there's this one company called Jindo Blue that maybe people know, which is literally a 1-man company. Or now I think they're like 5 now, from Italy, where they were able to do like 300 million downloads with their game without UA, like no creatives, no UA. Basically, everybody's scratching their head like how to do this. So it's called Offline Games, No Wi-Fi Games. And again, they're very, very smart in what they're doing, basically. But again, you don't really need a UA Marvel to do that. Like, if just look at games like, for instance, The Tower or Granny. Granny is also a good example. That's like this kind of viral horror game made by one person from Sweden, again, because he captured his niche. Same goes, for instance, for the Tower Story, because he captured his niche. So if you really want to be small and like want to pretty much make it there, make sure that you're not competing with the big guys and you're going after markets that are not that crowded. So create something either very unique or be able to kind of satisfy the niche market that nobody's fighting over. Or like, for instance, the Tower itself, I've seen 3 or 5 copies of the game by big companies. Nobody succeeded because the guys, during 4 years as they were running the game, made so much content into it, nobody just can catch up to them. It was a 1-man company. So through sheer hard work and like very, very expertise level kind of design and system design, you can still make it even being small. It's still possible.
Yeah. Thank you, Jakob. All right, that brings us end of today's session. I think we covered all the questions. Once again, a big thank you to our speakers, Rendra, Çağatay, and Jakub, for sharing such valuable insights. And thank you everyone who joined us today for your time and great questions. We are hoping that you are living with new, fresh ideas and practical strategies to help your mobile games play smarter and grow faster. Thanks again, everyone, and see you next time.
Yeah, thank you, Asher. Thank you for hosting.
Yeah, thanks
My
everybody.
pleasure.
Thanks,
Really great
everyone.
stuff. See you around.
Thanks,
See you.
guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.